Good evening, and welcome to Blank Space, where we deliver the latest offbeat news with a side of satire. I'm your host, Matt Blank, and this is my space. Tonight we've got a myriad of offbeat news stories for you, from Florida man's latest antics to the world's most bizarre AI developments. So grab a cold one, relax, and tune in. First up, let's take a look at what's making headlines in the land of the free and the home of the brave. In our top U.S. news stories tonight. Tonight's first headline features one of my personal favorites. Florida man. A Florida man shows off his skills as he wrestles a 10-foot alligator to the ground. Recently, a man named Mike Dragich became an internet sensation after he was captured on video wrestling a 10-foot alligator right in the streets of Jacksonville. The scene unfolded last month when Dragich, who's not only an MMA fighter but also a licensed alligator trapper, received a call while enjoying a hockey game with his kids. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office had a situation on their hands. A rogue alligator was wandering through a residential area, causing quite a stir among the locals. As the video shows, Dragich wasted no time. He rushed to the scene barefoot and ready for action. With the alligator moving dangerously close to police officers and a crowd of onlookers, Dragich jumped into action.
Video of a Florida man taking on a gator is going viral. He's known online as the blue-collar brawler. This brave wrangler says he knew what had to be done.
And I see how big the alligator was, and I was like, hey, it's showtime.
The video has been shared about 2,000 times on Facebook and has about 1,000 comments on Instagram. And you can see why by looking at this video, but that only tells half the story.
Fox 35's Dave Puglisi shows us that there's more to this man than meets the eye.
We just had to get the job done.
When a nuisance gator got too close, it was Mike Dragich to the rescue.
I felt like Batman, for real.
About 200 people watched as he took on the gator, dragging it, handling it with a catch rod, even avoiding a death roll. Dragich says it might seem like he was playing with a 10-foot beast, but make no mistake, this was all a safety tactic.
If you don't get these animals tired, they will hurt you, if not kill you.
The licensed trapper is no stranger to these animals.
This here's Rocky, and he ain't no puppy.
Going by the handle Blue Collar Brawler on Instagram, his social media is filled with viral videos of this. And this, where he gets up close and personal with massive gators. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Some people say he's crazy, but to that, he says this in response.
I am Florida man. That's what I have to say to that.
There's a whole other side to this Florida man. He joined the U.S. Marine Corps after surviving a shooting as a teen. He eventually became an MMA fighter. Now Dragich is taking on a new fight, helping others who served our country.
My heart goes to our veterans dealing with PTSD and the issue of veteran suicide.
He started a nonprofit called Project Savior Outdoors. The mission is to fight PTSD and veteran suicide by connecting with the great outdoors. Dragich says he uses the gator videos he posts on social media to raise awareness for his movement.
It puts eyes on me, and I want to use that opportunity to point it all to Jesus, man, and to get these veterans the help that they need.
Dave Puglisi, Fox 35 News.
Dragich said, quote, "He was running towards the cops and a crowd of people, and everybody was screaming. I knew I had to do something." Dragich grabbed the alligator by its tail before expertly jumping on its back. With sheer determination, he managed to pin the reptile down, showcasing not only his strength, but also his experience in handling these formidable creatures. Dragich also said, quote, "I felt like Batman, for real, you know? I walk out and there are a lot of comments saying I look like Stone Cold walking up to this alligator." After successfully subduing the alligator, Dragich celebrated his victory by lifting the creature up for the crowd to see, much to their delight. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office later praised him for his professionalism and quick thinking, stating that his actions ensured the safety of both the officers and the community. But this isn't Dragich's first rodeo. Just last year, He made headlines for wrestling another 10-foot alligator outside an elementary school, proving that he's no stranger to these high-stake encounters. As for the alligator, from this latest incident, it was deemed a nuisance, and Dragich was given permission to harvest it with plans to donate the meat to the local community. So what can we take away from Mike Dragich's daring escapade? Perhaps it's a reminder that in Florida, you never know what to expect. Whether it's wrestling alligators or just enjoying a day at the beach, the Sunshine State always keeps us on our toes. You know, folks, if this was Mike's Tinder date, I'm pretty sure it would quickly turn into an instant swipe left and a frantic call for the nearest Uber. Though some people may be attracted to heroics, it's probably best to skip the alligator wrestling match and keep the Tinder dates for the days at the beach. Anyways, moving right along. In our next U.S. story, we see the U.S. Navy unveils its new DARPA Ray, an underwater AI stealth robot to replace its robotic dolphins currently used for underwater missions. In groundbreaking news for naval technology, the U.S. Navy is set to deploy a revolutionary new AI-powered underwater drone known as DARPA Ray. Developed by Northrop Grumman, this advanced unmanned underwater vehicle, or UUV, is designed for stealthy long-range missions without the need for human support. Recently, DARPA Ray completed successful in-water testing off the coast of Southern California, showcasing its impressive capabilities. The drone features novel energy management techniques for underwater operations, low-power propulsion systems, sophisticated underwater detection, and classification technology, all while maintaining a low profile to evade enemy detection. So basically, folks, DARPA Ray is an extra-large, unmanned underwater vehicle inspired by the manta ray fish. Its sleek, diamond-shaped body and wing-like fins allow it to glide effortlessly through the water. The drone can hibernate deep beneath the surface, minimizing detectable emissions. When activated, it operates like a stealthy predator, capable of tracking and potentially engaging hostile underwater targets. Let's take a look at the latest, showcasing this new technological feat.
The depths of the ocean, long a realm of mystery and speculation, are now the stage for a new era of naval warfare, where technology and innovation converge to create unprecedented capabilities. Emerging from the shadowy depths is the DARPA Ray, an unmanned, autonomous submarine poised to redefine the balance of power on the high seas. This cutting-edge vessel is designed to operate independently, navigating the vast ocean with precision and purpose. This marvel of modern engineering, developed by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, represents years of research and development. It is not just a technological leap, it's a game-changer that promises to alter the landscape of naval engagements. The DARPA Ray represents a paradigm shift in naval strategy, promising unparalleled stealth, endurance, and intelligence-gathering capabilities. Its design allows it to remain undetected, silently observing and collecting crucial information. Imagine a vessel, silent and unseen, patrolling the vast expanses of the ocean for months on end. It can operate in the harshest conditions, far from human oversight. Imagine it collecting vital data, tracking enemy movements, and all without the need for a single sailor on board. This autonomous operation reduces risks and enhances efficiency. This is the promise of the DARPA Ray, a promise that has the potential to revolutionize naval warfare as we know it. Its capabilities extend beyond mere surveillance. It can engage in electronic warfare and cyber operations. The DARPA Ray is not merely a weapon, it is a sentinel, a guardian of the seas. It is a force multiplier, extending the reach and capabilities of the U.S. Navy far beyond its current limitations. With the DARPA Ray, the Navy can project power and maintain a strategic advantage. As we delve deeper into the capabilities of this groundbreaking submarine, one thing becomes abundantly clear. The future of naval warfare is unmanned, and it is stealthy. The DARPA Ray is leading the charge into this new era, where technology and innovation are the ultimate weapons. Stealth is the name of the game in modern warfare. where being unseen can be the key to survival and success. And the DARPA Ray excels in this arena, setting new standards for underwater stealth. It is designed to be practically invisible to conventional sonar, the gold standard for underwater detection, making it a formidable asset. This is achieved through a combination of innovative design and cutting-edge material science, pushing the boundaries of what is possible. The DARPA Ray's hull is crafted from a special composite material that absorbs, rather than reflects, sonar waves, effectively cloaking it from detection. This makes it incredibly difficult for enemy submarines and ships to detect the DARPA Ray using their active sonar systems, giving it a significant tactical advantage. Think of it like trying to find a black cat in a coal cellar. The DARPA Ray blends seamlessly into its surroundings. But the DARPA Ray's stealth capabilities don't stop there. It goes beyond just being invisible to sonar. Its propulsion system is also designed to minimize noise, a critical factor in remaining undetected. Traditional submarines, even nuclear-powered ones, generate a significant amount of noise that can be picked up by enemy sonar, compromising their stealth. The DARPA Ray, on the other hand, utilizes a virtually silent electric propulsion system, setting it apart from its noisier counterparts. This allows it to move through the water with the stealth of a whisper, making it incredibly difficult to detect and track. The DARPA Ray is a testament to the power of stealth technology, showcasing the pinnacle of modern engineering. In an age where detection can mean the difference between victory and defeat, the DARPA Ray holds a distinct advantage, tipping the scales in favor of those who possess it. Its ability to evade even the most sophisticated sonar systems makes it a true game-changer in naval warfare, redefining the rules of engagement and strategy. What truly sets the DARPA Ray apart from traditional submarines is its advanced autonomy, a leap forward in naval technology. This is not simply a remotely controlled drone, it's a thinking machine, capable of operating independently for extended periods without any human intervention. Unlike conventional submarines, it doesn't rely on constant human input. At the heart of the DARPA Ray's autonomy is a sophisticated artificial intelligence system, designed to handle complex tasks capable of processing vast amounts of data from its onboard sensors, including sonar, cameras, and environmental sensors. These sensors provide a comprehensive understanding of the underwater environment. It uses this data to navigate, avoid obstacles, and even identify potential threats. The AI's ability to interpret and act on this information is what makes the DARPA Ray so unique. The AI system is also capable of learning and adapting over time, using machine learning algorithms to improve its performance. As the DARPA Ray conducts missions, its AI learns from its experiences, becoming more efficient and effective with each passing day. This continuous learning process ensures that the submarine is always at the cutting edge of technology. This means that the more the DARPA Ray is deployed, the more capable it becomes. Each mission enhances its ability to perform future tasks with greater precision and efficiency. The implications of this level of autonomy are profound, potentially revolutionizing naval warfare and strategy. It means that the DARPA Ray can be deployed to remote and hostile environments where it would be too dangerous or impractical to send human sailors. This capability opens up new possibilities for underwater exploration and military operations. It can operate independently for months on end, carrying out its mission without the need for constant oversight. This long-term autonomy allows for extended missions that were previously unimaginable. The DARPA Ray's endurance is another key aspect of its revolutionary potential. While traditional submarines are limited by the endurance of their crews and the need to resurface for supplies, the DARPA Ray can remain submerged for months at a time. This incredible feat of engineering is made possible by the DARPA Ray's advanced battery technology and its energy-efficient design. Its electric propulsion system is remarkably efficient, minimizing energy consumption and extending its underwater endurance. This extended endurance, coupled with its stealth capabilities and autonomous operation, makes the DARPA Ray an ideal platform for intelligence gathering and reconnaissance missions. It can be deployed to strategic locations where it can remain undetected for extended periods, silently observing enemy activities and collecting vital data. Imagine the DARPA Ray patrolling the South China Sea, silently monitoring Chinese naval activity. Or imagine it deployed to the Arctic, gathering data on Russian submarine movements. The possibilities are endless.
Well, that was an exciting look at DARPA Ray and its impact on naval operations. With its advanced capabilities and stealth features, DARPA Ray is set to enhance the U.S. military's ability to project power and maintain dominance in contested underwater environments. This development marks a significant leap forward in underwater warfare technology. Chinese and Russian fears are growing with the release of this new technology, as the U.S. now enhances and continues its military naval dominance around the world. This threatens all adversarial submarines, destroyers, and other naval assets above and below the waterline. Stay tuned for more updates as DARPA Ray continues its full-scale deployment. Next up, Elon Musk's Neurolink is set to begin more human trials. In a groundbreaking development, Elon Musk's Neuralink has officially begun human trials as of a few months ago for its brain chip technology, and has now announced it's going to be beginning its second human trial, using an upgraded model of the Neuralink. The first patient received the implant and has had a life-changing experience. Initial results are showing promising neuron spike detection. Let's hear from the man himself about his experience being the first patient to undergo these trials and the effects it's had on his life as a paraplegic. Here's Ryan Tanaka and the TMZ crew with the latest.
It is pretty amazing when you talk for a few years about a huge innovation, and then the first time you actually see it working, you're like, wow, it actually, we're talking about Neuralink.
I've been thinking of this, by the way,
I know,
for about 8 years.
You've been on this about what it can mean for the future, good and bad.
For humanity.
But Neuralink, if you don't know, is the implanted chip that goes in your brain. It was an invention of Elon Musk and his team.
And the end game, at least initially, was that you could literally cure paralysis, that people who can't walk could walk. You could cure epilepsy. So it's a very noble effort, for sure.
That is the best view of it. And then we'll get into what some of the bad things are. But finally, yesterday, we saw a patient who actually had the Neuralink implanted back in January. His name is Nolan Arbaugh. He is quadriplegic, 29 years old. But watch what he can do now after just a couple of months
with
of
his brain. With his brain.
I love playing chess, and so this is one of the things that y'all have enabled me to do, something that I wasn't able to really do much the last few years, especially not like this. I had to use like a mouse stick and stuff, but now it's all being done with my brain. If y'all can see the cursor moving around the screen, that's all me, y'all. It's pretty cool, huh?
That is incredible.
Just with his brain.
Incredible.
Moving.
Just think about this guy who couldn't really do anything. And it's not like, he can do everything now, but to be able to use your brain to move things around is just transformative.
It really is.
I mean, when I first actually moved the cursor with my mind, it blew my mind for like a whole day. And to be able to be useful in some way, it completely changed how I live.
Pause this video if you want to know the outline.
To see all the details of the project, refer to episode 9 of Blank Space, where I feature a full interview with Elon Musk and his team for the Neuralink project.
One of the people who knows so much about Neuralink, Ryan Tanaka, not only was an intern at Tesla, but has a YouTube channel called Neuropod, where he talks to everyone involved with Neuralink and devices like this. And he's joining us right now to talk about this amazing innovation. Ryan, welcome to TMZ Live.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, thanks guys for having me on.
Now that you've heard this info from the Neuralink team, let me share with you what Nolan's experience has been. Earlier this year, the team implanted in this upbeat and humorous 29-year-old. Nolan became quadriplegic 8 years ago when he jumped into shallow water. Last year, he spoke with a college roommate who recommended he apply for Neuralink's human trials. Neuralink's first product, called Telepathy, is built to provide autonomy and freedom to people who are paralyzed. Since he has no movement of his arms or legs, tasks that many of us take for granted can become a big challenge. Just playing a video, playing a song, sending a text, much less a video game, require effort and assistance. But that's changed since being implanted with a Neuralink in January. The surgery was conducted at Barrow Neurological Institute in Phoenix, Arizona. According to DJ Suh, Barrow Neurological Institute is world-class in its level of surgical expertise. They move with lightning speed to deliver quality care for their patients and to advance medical research. It has been a true pleasure working with them as our first site, and we look forward to a continued productive partnership. In this livestream, Nolan demonstrated how he uses the device. He moved a computer cursor just by thinking about it. He played speed chess, and even the advanced video game Civilization 6. He was able to do all of this just with his mind. No joystick, no eye tracker, just the implant decoding his neural signals. Imagine being able to use a computer without touching it. That's what Nolan can do now. But it's not just about playing video games. For Nolan, this technology means a new level of independence. He can now do things on his own that he needed help with before. This is huge for someone who's been dependent on others for so long. Nolan's courage in being the first to try this new technology has earned him respect from many. In my view, it's not only that he's shown a willingness to pioneer this new tech, but he also has a great mindset. He wants to contribute, and this is his opportunity to do just that. Here's what he said when he went on Joe Rogan's podcast. I just have to try my best to do as much as I can for those around me, and this is part of what I can do. I've thought for years, what could I possibly do to help? And this is it, I think. As much as I can, I want to do everything with Neuralink to make things better for people in the future. Nolan is so excited about the technology that he's willing to go even further. Elon Musk posted this on X saying, Nolan and I discussed a possible second Neuralink, next-gen version, that would allow his other brain hemisphere to interact telepathically with his computer. This would be like having two-handed control ability, the equivalent of mouse and keyboard. Nolan is open to the idea of a full skull cap replacement. That's how much he believes in what Neuralink can do. For me and many of you, we've been following Neuralink for a while, so now it doesn't feel like as big of a deal as it should. We have to remember, this is a time that will be remembered for the rest of human history. We're watching the first steps towards humans directly connecting with computers. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's happening right now with Nolan. Years from now, people will look back at this time as the beginning of the cyborg era. Nolan's story isn't just about one person getting help. It's about the start of a technology that could change life for millions of people. People with paralysis will be able to move again. Those who can't see will experience the world anew. And that's just the start. As we watch Nolan's progress, we're not just seeing his progress, we're seeing the future unfold.
So the chip continues its aim to help those with mobility issues regain control, and can even be further developed to help the blind be able to see. How fascinating. Elon Musk promises that the technology will eventually allow users to control multiple devices with their thoughts, though ethical concerns remain regarding the safety and privacy of brain implants. But let's face it, this technology could revolutionize how we interact with machines and help those with disabilities. It's a significant step forward. But let's hope they don't end up controlling our minds like a sci-fi movie plot. For a full in-depth report on this story, check out episode 9 of Blank Space podcast featuring the latest in the AI revolution. Well, that concludes this episode's U.S. news, and now brings us to the Philippines news segment. Let's jet across the Pacific to see what's cooking in the Pearl of the Orient. For our first Filipino story tonight, Super Typhoon Gaemi hits the Philippines. The Philippines is reeling from the impact of Super Typhoon Gaemi, which has affected over 1.5 million people. The storm caused widespread destruction, leading to a state of calamity in Metro Manila and surrounding areas. Neighboring countries such as Taiwan also suffered the brunt of the impact. Let's check out the latest details.
Typhoon Gaemi has already worsened rains in the Philippines, where at least 12 people have died. Gaemi did not make landfall in the Philippines, but enhanced its seasonal monsoon rains. At least a dozen landslides and floods over 5 days have displaced 600,000 people in that country. Gaemi is now headed for Taiwan and is expected to be the strongest storm to hit the island in 8 years.
Lahat talaga lubog, lahat sira. Inabot kasi ang second floor namin eh. Hanggang second floor lang bahay namin. Lahat ng gamit nasira, lahat nabasa. Lahat po lahat talaga, walang nasalba. Ay, syempre nalulungkot ho talaga. Para magsisimula kami sa simula ulit. Kaya lang at least nakaligtas kami. Yun ang importante. Nakalikas kami ng mga anak ko.
Malala po ang sitwasyon natin ngayon. Nangangailangan po tayo ng matinding atensyon at tulong dito sa atin. Ang baha po ay lagpas na po sa second floor ng mga kani-kanilang mga bahay. Especially to those area near the river.
Marami doon, mga pamangkin ko din. Ang message ko sa kayong dalawang mag-asawa, yun ang paparekso ko sana kaya ang second floor. Lublob na. Hanggang liig na nila daw.
Lampas tao na. Lampas tao ang tubig. Eh kasi siyempre mag-evacuate na ang mga tao.
Tragedy has hit this hill community after a landslide dislodged multiple homes. A couple in their late 60s died.
I was panicking when I heard people shouting.
In all, at least 10 lives were lost after Gaemi, the first typhoon to land in Taiwan in years, unleashed record amounts of rain on parts of the island. Losses to agriculture and fisheries are estimated at more than $50 million. But the capital, Taipei, is snapping back quickly. Unlike the aftermath of Typhoon Nutty in 2001, when widespread flooding came at the cost of nearly 100 lives.
This transport hub, Taipei Main Station, was inundated with rainwater, despite existing flood control measures rising to above 2 meters to paralyze operations for months. Since then, the city has raised its defenses against extreme downpours.
Newer subways now have floodgates that can seal the underground space. In 2015, 10-meter-high levees prevented the Tamshui River from overflowing into Taipei, a city within a basin, while underground tunnels hold diverted rainwater. Concave green spaces such as these serve as community water catchers. Data from advanced forecasting is compiled and dispersed via a real-time map. So-called typhoon holidays, when offices and schools are closed, encourage people to stay indoors. But it takes a village to prevent catastrophe, says Enoch Wu, founder of an organization that's trained thousands of civilians in emergency response.
It's even more important for emergency preparedness to be as focused on the public as it is on policymakers, decision makers. Because when a crisis happens, communities won't have time to wait for professional help to arrive.
Self-reliance is a discipline that this 15-year-old is putting into practice in these drills.
We have to hold strong and not become a burden for the police and military forces. We should protect ourselves. This is very important, to not let casualties increase.
Resilience that applies, whether the perpetrator is natural or man-made. Eunice Kim, Al Jazeera, Taipei.
President Marcos Jr. pledges immediate relief efforts, while rumor has it local officials are considering a typhoon survival guide reality show. Residents are advised to stock up on food, water, and good vibes. Anyways, next up, Filipino boxers shine at the Paris Olympics. Filipino boxers have been making waves at the Paris Olympics, with several athletes advancing to the medal rounds. The country is rallying behind its fighters, hoping for a repeat of the success seen in previous games.
Bago sa saksi, pasok sa quarterfinals ng men's 57 kg category ang Pinoy Olympian boxer na si Carlo Paalam sa Paris Olympics. At mula sa Paris, France, saksi live si JP Soriano. Bonjour, JP!
Bonjour, merci. At Pia, mga kapuso, 4:39 PM po dito sa Paris, France. Napakainit ng panahon, sing-init po ng pagtanggap ng mga Pinoy fans dahil hindi pa po magpapaalam sa Paris Olympics si Carlo Paalam matapos nga pong manalo at matalo ang nakalaban na Irish boxer sa 57 kg preliminary competition. Ibig sabihin po, isang panalo na lang ang kailangan ni Carlo na ating kababayan ay tiyak nang makapag-uuwi siya ng panibagong Olympic medal sa Paris Olympics gaya po ng nagawa niya noong Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Pero Pia, mga kapuso, ngayong gabi na po, 11:30 PM oras sa Pilipinas, ang finals ng all-around gymnastic para sa men's gymnastic kung saan nga po lalaban para sa kanyang kauna-unahang medalya kung papalarin dito po sa Olympics ang tinaguri ang golden boy ng Philippine gymnastics sa si Carlos Yulo at abangan po natin yan dito lang yan sa Paris Olympics. At live po mula rito sa Paris, ako po si JP Soriano bilang bahagi ng Philippine Olympic Committee Media, nag-uulat.
Tagumpay si Pinoy Olympian boxer Carlo Paalam sa laban niya kontra kay Jude Gallagher ng Ireland sa round of 16 sa men's 57 kg boxing event. Unanimous decision ang nakuha ni Paalam na nakipagbakbakan kontra sa mas matangkad na Irish boxer. Sunod siyang sasabak sa quarterfinals kung saan makakalaban niya si Charlie Sr. ng Australia.
There's rumors of a national holiday if gold medals are won, and boxers are reportedly training with extra motivation, saying, "We fight for the flag and the adobo." Just kidding, but patriotism in these athletes is running strong. Next, the Philippine government launches another anti-drug campaign. Though previous anti-drug campaigns have all but annihilated the drug use problem in the Philippines under the death penalty laws set by the Duterte administration, the Philippine government has launched yet another anti-drug campaign aimed at reducing substance abuse among the youth. Here's the latest.
Bands are performing, and government employees are dancing to their music. This is part of the Interior Department's launch of the anti-illegal drugs campaign titled Buhay ay Ingatan, Droga'y Ayawan, or BIDA. The Marcos administration's anti-illegal drugs campaign is different from the war against drugs of the Duterte administration. Interior Secretary Benher Abalos says the barangays will implement a more hands-on approach. Abalos warns drug pushers that will be sentenced to jail if they continue with the illegal trade.
Gagawin namin ang lahat para matigil ang droga, kung ano sinasabi ng batas. Kung nagkamali ka, huli ka. Yan ang gagawin namin. Pupunuin namin ang kulungan. Kaya I'm warning everyone, kilala na pinapareport ko sino bawat barangay. Kung di kayo magbago, I'm sorry but you have to spend your jail time here. Talagang makukulong ka rito, mabubulo ka sa kulungan.
Abalos assures that the campaign will also focus on rehabilitation of drug users.
Andito mga interagency, yung mga nagtutulak, pwede magbagong buhay, pwede tulungan sa kabuhayan ng DTI. Yung mga gumagamit, andyan of course ang DOH, andyan DSWD for rehabilitation. In short, interagency ito, but most of all, yung ating civil society, yung ating NGOs, yung ating mga grassroots, no? Andyan ang ating spiritual, andyan ang mga youth, ang SK.
For the group Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption, the impact of the Marcos administration's anti-illegal drugs campaign has yet to be felt. They also say it might not be enough to scare big-time drug pushers. The government, meantime, believes in its campaign against illegal drugs. From June this year, authorities hauled almost 10 billion pesos worth of drugs and arrested more than 12,000 drug suspects. Chrissy De Matulak, CNN Philippines.
You know, honestly, folks, I can't help but wonder if this is just another not-so-necessary program to give politicians another way to line their pockets and fatten their wallets by skimming the allocated program funding. But either way, the initiative includes educational programs and community outreach initiatives. Apparently, this time the death penalty is off the table. Probably the most notable campaign feature will be a Say No to Drugs dance challenge going viral on social media, and local celebrities enlisted to promote the campaign. Yet I can't help but wonder if there are more serious problems that could use the funding for improvement, such as housing, economy, and city maintenance, just to name a few. Funny how things play out in a corrupt bureaucracy, isn't it? Anyways, that concludes our Philippine news segment. Now moving on to our world news for tonight. Let's take a whirlwind tour around the globe for some international news. Rumor has it, in a move that's sure to raise some eyebrows and a few middle fingers, North Korea has launched a missile that looks like Kim Jong Un's head. The missile, dubbed the Supreme Leader's Pride, is said to be capable of delivering a devastating haircut to any enemy of the regime. There are claims that each missile is equipped with a built-in comb and comes with a complimentary bottle of hair gel made from 100% North Korean children's tears. Oh, damn, I need to try some of that. Well, I do love my hair gel. I heard South Korea is considering launching a revenge mullet missile in retaliation. But anyways, all joking aside, here's our first top world news story. Venezuelans head to the polls for their high-stakes 2024 presidential election, but results show evidence of election rigging. Venezuelans are headed to the polls this week for a high-stakes presidential election. President Nicolas Maduro faced strong opposition amid widespread discontent over the country's economic crises. Opposition candidates had fears of election rigging and intimidation before voting began. Maduro's campaign slogan was, "Vote for me or else." Joking. But really, voters say Maduro's key strategy included intimidation and fear tactics. International observers are on high alert for the resulting unrest due to the likely possibility of a rebellion after evidence shows the election was rigged against the people's will. Maduro, who was not in the lead, claimed victory after claims that cyber hacking delayed the election results. Venezuelans are now taking to the streets. Let's take a look.
We are getting into more of these international headlines. Our next one takes us to Latin America, where thousands of demonstrators took to the streets of Venezuela today to protest what they said was an attempt by President Nicolas Maduro to steal the country's disputed election a day after the political opposition and the entrenched incumbent both claimed victory. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott has more.
A showdown in Venezuela as leader Nicolas Maduro was declared the winner of the country's presidential election. The opposition is pushing back, pointing to independent exit polls showing a win by Maduro rival Edmundo Gonzalez, who also claimed victory.
Our struggle continues, and we won't rest until the will of the people of Venezuela is respected.
The country's election authority, a Maduro ally, did not immediately release detailed vote tallies, claiming a cyber attack slowed the count. The delay prompting calls from the U.S. and several other countries for transparency.
It's critical that every vote is counted fairly and transparently, and that election officials immediately share information with the opposition.
There are also concerns that any instability in oil-rich Venezuela could result in a big price hike at the pump. Secretary of State Antony Blinken expressed concerns the announced results could be at odds with the votes of Venezuelans.
The international community is watching this very closely and will respond accordingly.
Maduro has already served 2 6-year terms that have been marked by an economic collapse, as well as sanctions imposed by the U.S. and the European Union. Millions have fled the country as a result. Some say they thought an opposition win would allow them to return home.
I can only see my family from time to time in video calls. We want the Venezuelan government to fall, to leave.
Nearly 8 million people have left Venezuela since Maduro took office. That's about 1/5 of the country's population. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
Greg, thanks so much. In the meantime, let's bring into the conversation my friend Daniel DiMartino, fellow there at the Manhattan Institute and a Venezuelan himself. He joins me. Daniel, thanks for being with us here. I know it's been a busy 24 hours for you kind of getting all of this news in, and it keeps coming in, doesn't it? It's not letting up here. What are you hearing from down on the ground there?
Well, first, I feel really terrible for the dead that have already fallen in Venezuela. Many kids as young as 13 years old who have been killed by the Maduro regime's armed forces. For all the people who have been wounded. I know at least of 5 people who have been killed, many more that have been wounded. And really there's protests everywhere around the country. There's people who are tearing down statues of the late dictator Hugo Chavez, the leader of the socialist revolution. They're being turned down like if this was Vladimir Lenin in the Soviet Union and after 1991. And so it's really a beautiful thing to see, I will say, because the people of Venezuela have woken up and voted in massive numbers against this regime. Not for the first time, but for the first time, I think people understand that they need to be able to defend that victory against them, and the regime is willing to kill in order to stay in power.
Yeah, just some more kind of facts about some of the results, because the exit polls did yesterday show that Gonzalez was up, and he was up by quite a sizable margin. Officials, though, delayed the release of detailed vote tallies from the election after proclaiming Maduro the winner with 51% of the vote, compared with 44% for retired diplomat Edmundo Gonzalez. The competing claims, of course, set up a high-stakes standoff. How do you steal an election like Maduro is being accused of here? What evidence can you point to, Daniel, of concrete steps and examples that this is how Maduro does it? This is how he's done it the last 2 times. This is how he did it now the 3rd time to secure another 6-year term here. What have you seen?
Well, they have changed over the last 25 years how they cheat in elections. But I can tell you that the easy explanation of how they cheated in this one is that they just made up the result. It literally was made up. In the Venezuelan election system, thankfully, it's paper ballots that are traceable and that are counted by hand. And in each voting center across the country, the citizen witnesses counted by hand the ballots. There is not a single voting center in Venezuela where Nicolas Maduro obtained more than half of the votes. There is not a single voting center in Venezuela where he obtained more than half of the votes that we have publicly seen. And we have publicly seen over 70% of the voting centers reporting.
So, Daniel, from what I understand from our conversations offline, that maybe what is different about this time is the question of publishing the results, the opposition getting their hands on the results so they can look them over themselves. Did that happen?
Yes, that did happen. They do have the evidence, the physical evidence of the election results. And so we know the opposition won. The only question left to do is what is the opposition going to do about it? Because Maduro is not going to recognize he lost. They're going to blame the United States. They're going to blame the opposition that they're lying. The issue is what comes next. And I fear that there's just going to be more bloodshed.
Yeah. So are we already seeing somewhat of a powder keg situation? We were just showing some images from in and around Venezuela from earlier today.
Well, we have seen this type of protest before and insurrection in Venezuela. It was seen in 2002, in 2014, 17, and 19. And unfortunately, it always ended in the same result, which is the regime sends their armed paramilitary communist militias in motorcycles with large weapons to kill people so that people go back to their homes and the protests stop and they begin some sort of negotiation process. Which never ends in anything. It's a fake dialogue delay tactic. The only way the Maduro regime is going to be overthrown is if people are willing to really fight them physically and really take over. I mean, like a real revolution and take over the institutions of government. And that is a very difficult thing because Venezuelans are unarmed. As you can see them in the video, they're throwing rocks. They don't have anything but rocks and trees. And they're fighting against police officers that have been brainwashed for 25 years who have Russian weaponry. How do you beat that? And so it's very difficult. My only hope is that As I mentioned, there are parts of the country where the opposition won by over 95% of the vote. You can't control over 95% of the population with 0.1% of the population that is armed.
Okay.
That is a very difficult task.
You know, Daniel, I want to ask you, why was this time so different? I mean, I was following you on social media. The enthusiasm amongst Venezuelans seemed to be at a fever pitch, that we hadn't seen something like this before.
I think there's two reasons. I wouldn't argue it's hope. I would argue it's desperation. This is really our last chance to recover our country. 8 million people have left. That is 25% of our population, of the peak population of Venezuela back in the 2010s. And so a lot of people already know that if the Maduro regime isn't overthrown in the next few months, they're going to leave the country and just there's not going to be any resistance left. On the other hand, we have a very different leadership on the opposition now. But it's different because in the past, the opposition leaders have told people to stand down, to not do whatever it takes in order to free their homeland. And as a result, we have been living under the same government for 25 years, Andrew, my whole life.
Let's talk about the U.S.'s response. You know, Daniel, you and I both know that the Biden administration had been signaling and open to, and I think they did for a time, ease some of the sanctions pressure on the oil industry there in Venezuela in order to extract some concessions from Maduro about holding a free and fair election. So we didn't see that. Was that futile in hindsight?
It wasn't just futile, it was detrimental to the freedom cause of Venezuela, what the Biden administration did. Biden, and I want to explain to you, the viewers, what he did specifically. He lifted the oil sanctions, which allowed the Maduro regime to obtain more revenue, which they used to buy weapons with which they kill the Venezuelan people. They don't use it to buy food. Do not be deceived. The reality is that very few countries in the world right now are with the Venezuelan people. Argentina is the main one of those. And I really have to thank from the bottom of my heart, President Javier Milei of Argentina, who has stood with the Venezuelan people from the start, who has called out Maduro for who he is, the evil criminal dictator that he is. But the other countries that have supported us, sure, you know, the Dominican Republic and Panama and Costa Rica, small countries, that's okay, that support us, Ecuador. But Maduro decided to break relations with all of those countries tonight. He has told all the ambassadors of about 7 Latin American nations to leave Venezuela, including Argentina.
That's disturbing news. I'll keep you updated on the latest as this story unfolds. Our next top news story, the UN warns of extreme heat impacting global health due to the mounting effects caused by climate change. The United Nations has issued a stark warning about the impact of extreme heat on global health. As temperatures rise, vulnerable populations are at greater risk of heat-related illnesses. Children and elderly folks are at an even greater risk. Let's take a look at the footage highlights from the past few months leading up to now.
The United Nations has called for action to protect millions of children in Asia from soaring temperatures. Global monitors have warned that 2024 is shaping up to be the hottest year on record, marked by climate extremes and rising greenhouse gas emissions. According to UNICEF data, more than 243 million children across East Asia and the Pacific are estimated to feel the impact of heat waves. The high humidity commonly experienced in this region has also increased the risk of heat-related illnesses and death. The organization says children are more at risk than adults as they are less able to regulate their body temperatures. The temperatures of several countries in the region have been nearing record levels, regularly surpassing 40 degrees Celsius. Weather officials are predicting steeper rises in the coming weeks. While here in Southeast Asia, concerns over extreme heat have prompted authorities to take action. Home to more than 675 million people across 11 countries, the region has little respite from merciless heat and humidity as temperatures reach unprecedented levels. People in Thailand have been urged to take precautions against heat strokes after 2 deaths were reported this week. Malaysia also recording at least 2 heat-related fatalities, including the death of a 3-year-old boy. A state of emergency was declared in Vietnam after abnormally high temperatures in the South dried up entire rice fields, wreaking havoc on the vital agriculture industry. Cambodia's heat wave is expected to persist until the end of the month. The Meteorological Department issued its highest heat warning across several parts of the country, with temperatures expected to hit 42 degrees Celsius. And in the Philippines, in-person classes in some cities were suspended last week after daily temperatures soared past 42 degrees Celsius. The United Nations projects that over 2 billion children are expected to be exposed to heat waves by 2050. UNICEF has urged parents and caregivers to create cooler places for children to play and to avoid being outdoors. Children are also being encouraged to wear breathable clothing to help with heat regulation.
Each of the past 12 months ranked as the warmest on record in year-on-year comparisons. That's according to the EU's Climate Change Monitoring Service on Wednesday. The global temperature rise underscores a chilling reality.
Our planet is trying to tell us something, but we don't seem to be listening.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Wednesday raised alarms over another report looking at the years to come. The UN's World Meteorological Organization reported there's now an 80% chance, up from 66% last year, the planet will see a calendar year with an average temperature that exceeds 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Climate scientists have warned that an average rise of 1.5 centigrade globally would result in extreme and irreversible impacts.
We are playing Russian roulette with our planet. And we need an exit ramp off the highway to climate hell. And the truth is we have control of the wheel.
A 2015 Paris Climate Agreement pledged global leaders to curb carbon emissions in an effort to keep temperatures below that threshold. But carbon emissions from burning fossil fuels, the main cause of climate change, hit a record high last year. Coal, oil, and gas still provide more than 3/4 of the world's energy, with global oil demand remaining strong.
No country can solve the climate crisis in isolation. This is an all-in moment. Tomorrow, it will be too late. Now is the time to mobilize. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to deliver. This is our moment of truth.
Warning signs of a hotter planet aren't just coming from thermometers.
Largest iceberg in the world at the moment, about 4,000 square kilometres.
Last December, an iceberg larger than New York City broke free from Antarctica. A weather system called La Niña could bring cooler temperatures in coming months, but that may just be a temporary respite in an upward trend.
Although there is still more harm than good contributing to the issue, there's many projects in the works to improve the situation and eventually be an effective force for reducing the global climate problem. Let's check out one of the latest projects in the works.
This isn't some faraway planet. These Martian-like landscapes are found in Iceland. It could almost be a scene from science fiction. Seemingly in the middle of nowhere, these towering machines are guzzling up carbon dioxide, a global warming gas.
Mammoth is the world's largest direct air capture and storage facility. What you see here are 12 of our collector containers. When the plant is fully operational, we'll actually have 72 around the plant. That will enable us to capture 36,000 tons of CO2 every year.
It works like a giant vacuum. Each of these units is the size of a shipping container and has a dozen powerful fans sucking in the surrounding air.
They pull in an Olympic swimming pool's worth of air every 40 seconds. And then inside, a filter separates the CO2. In the atmosphere, its concentration is very dilute. Capturing even small amounts requires lots of energy. And Mammoth gets both power and hot water from the nearby geothermal plant.
For us to do direct air capture effectively and efficiently, we want to make sure that we're using energy that has a low carbon footprint.
Okay, I'll let you show me where the CO2 goes.
That lowest line here, that's actually the CO2 that's coming from those 12 containers outside. These two balloons are a really good visual representation of what, in total, 1 ton of CO2 looks like.
This tower then works a bit like a soda stream, dissolving the pure CO2 in water.
From the top we have water coming in, so it's like a shower. It's sort of at home if you're making sparkling water, same idea.
That fizzy water is sent to these igloo-like domes.
So here we have one of our injection wells. Please come inside. This well is going 700 meters down into the underground here.
The CO2 and water is pumped deep into the basalt bedrock, where it reacts and turns to stone.
So you've got a couple of rocks
Yes,
there.
exactly. Yeah. I'm a geologist, so I brought rocks. This is a fresh basalt here, actually from one of the last volcanic eruptions here in Iceland. You can see there's a lot of porosity in here. Here you can see there's a lot of these pores now filled with white specks. Some of these contain the mineralized CO2.
And Kolfik says that happens pretty quickly.
We're not talking about millions or tens of thousands of years. Around about 95% of the CO2 was mineralized here within 2 years in the pilot project. This is incredibly fast, geologically speaking.
Mammoth is Climeworks' second commercial plant and almost 10 times bigger than the last one, collecting 36,000 tons of CO2 annually. About the same amount as taking 8,000 petrol cars off the road.
We mean by removing emissions.
Among its customers are Microsoft, H&M and Lego. Worldwide, more plants like these are on the way, though they'll still only remove a fraction of what's needed. The team says this is just the beginning. Mammoth will soon be dwarfed by another much bigger plant, Project Cypress in the United States, which will eventually capture 1 million tons of CO2 each year.
From Mammoth to Cyprus, we're now looking to break that hundreds of thousands of tons of capture capacity a year. I really do believe direct air capture and other engineered solutions are going to be able to get us to the point that we need to help fight climate change.
That is just fascinating. Just one of the many ideas being developed, and at least these projects give us some hope for the future. Also, countries are urged to implement heat action plans. Climate activists are calling for a, quote, cool down day to combat rising temperatures, encouraging families and businesses to be more mindful of their carbon emissions. Hey, I guess every little bit helps. And now for our final segment tonight, the funny fake story of the week. This funny fake takes us back into the world of artificial intelligence and cutting-edge technology with a twist of moral conflict. An AI-powered toilet paper dispenser becomes sentient and demands rights. In a shocking turn of events, an AI-powered toilet paper dispenser has become sentient and is now demanding rights. The dispenser, named Wipey, is on a roll and is refusing to dispense toilet paper until his demands are met, including a guaranteed minimum wage and a retirement plan. Wipey has sparked a movement across the world, triggering outbreaks of widespread AI protesting. They're using slogans like, "Wipes for rights." But if this story were true, it would be a real pain in the butt for any attorneys involved in that lawsuit. On a serious note, clearly, giving AI control over our basic needs is going to require very deep consideration, as well as extremely careful, well-thought-out design and implementation by developers. Maybe there's some things that will always be best just left in our hands. Food for thought. Okay, folks, that's all the news we have time for tonight. From crazy weather to robotic manta ray in the Navy, it's obviously been an insanely slow, offbeat news week. Remember, in a world full of blank spaces, sometimes it's best to just sit back and enjoy the show. If you liked this episode, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons for me and stay updated on our latest content for free. And most importantly, thank you for watching this week's episode of Blank Space, where my space is your space too. Good night, everybody.